Hello everybody, and welcome to this in-depth tutorial on Splinter Cell Chaos Theory multiplayer. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or new to the game, this video will give you a comprehensive look at all the mechanics that make this mode so unique and exciting. I'll be covering everything from the basics of gameplay and controls to advanced strategies for both the Spies and the Mercs. We'll dive into movement, gadgets, tactics, and all the key elements that make Chaos Theory multiplayer a thrilling experience. By the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge to master the game and really elevate your play. So let's jump right in. Alright, to get us started here, let's make sure that you have the game installed. First of all, grab the URL from my YouTube channel bio, paste it in your URL bar on your browser. It will take you to this page. It's going to lead you to the most recent version of the Snake build of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory Enhanced, which includes all of the community maps, so it is pretty much the ideal version to download. If you click download anyway, this will start the download process, and then you just wait for this download to finish. By default, this zip file should end up in your downloads folder. You can go ahead and open this up, and you will end up with the folder here. You're going to click extract, and then we're going to extract it pretty much anywhere, but in this case I'm just going to extract the folder to the desktop, and we're going to wait for the extraction to complete. Once the extraction is completed, you should have a folder on your desktop or wherever you extracted the folder to. And that's pretty much it. The game has now been installed. You can go into the system folder, and down here is the scct_versus.exe. That is the executable file. Double clicking on this will start the game, so I would recommend maybe just making like a shortcut to it, like I did right here. Once you've opened up the game, we can go ahead and create a new profile. We're just going to name it Test in this case. Once you've created the profile, it should give you some options for a tutorial or an exam, or you can just hit the back button to get to the main menu. Once you've created your profile, one of the first things that I would do is go to your profile options and go to keyboard configuration so we can set up our key bindings. The default keys in this game are not particularly ideal in my opinion, so I highly recommend setting the keys to something more comfortable to what you're used to. In this game, it is a bit unique in that you'll have one control scheme for both the Spy and the Merc, which play pretty differently. So I'll go through my key bindings and let you know what I recommend for each key, but obviously you just want to use whatever is comfortable for you. In my case, I do use the WSAD for the forward, backward, left, and right, just kind of basic movement stuff. I do have the use key, which is sort of like your main interact button. I set that to the E key. Action 1, which is going to be the button for rolling, dive rolling as the Spy, or activating the laser as the Merc. I set that as the Shift key. Action 2 is the button that for the Spy will take out your taser gun, and for the mercenary will enable and disable your flashlight. I put that to the right mouse button. The fire key as the left mouse button, that's pretty standard. Here's one important change that I would recommend making, which is the use gadget button. If you have something like a gaming mouse, I would recommend binding this button to the mouse. So in my case, I put it as Gadget 5. That way you can quickly enable a gadget. This is particularly useful for something like the gas mask gadget, where you have to be very quick and reactive in using it. The jump key I have as spacebar. I am someone who likes to use X key for crouch, but you could do something like the C key, for instance, here. I have the co-op button as the T key. It's a little bit more out of the way, so you're not going to be using that, as quickly. Hack enemy communications you don't really need to worry about because that's not really something that is used in this version of the game. Now with the switch vision mode, this is something that is important to touch on. So the default is F8, I believe, and this is the button that's going to cycle through the vision modes. I recommend not even worrying about that, and you really just want to bind your vision modes to independent keys. So for instance, I have first special vision, which is the night vision for the spy, and then the motion vision for the mercenary. I have that as the tab key, and then the second special vision, which is the thermal vision for spy or EMF vision for the merc, I have that bound to the Q key. Enhanced reality, you don't need to really worry about that. That's just like a HUD type of setting. Now for selecting the gadgets, you do want to use ideally the numerical keys 1, 2, and 3 for your first 3 gadgets. You could put your 4th gadget to numeral 4, but another thing I recommend is for the gadget 4 slot, you can sort of make this like a quick access gadget slot and bind it to your mouse. So again, if you have a gaming mouse, I would recommend binding this to something like mouse button 4 so that you can quickly access one of your gadgets. Again, this is most commonly going to be for the gas mask as the mercenaries. You can quickly put on your mask and activate it. Next gadget and previous gadget you don't really want to worry about, because what you should be doing is using the numeral keys to select specific gadgets instead of scrolling through them. That's really not efficient at all. For zooming, I have as the middle mouse button. This will zoom in with your sniper when you're using the AR as the mercenary, or use the binoculars as the spy. Zooming in and out is page up and down, which is scrolling the mouse wheel, so that's pretty standard, just scrolling the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. As the spy, I have back to wall as the Z key. Enabling the laser on the taser gun, I have as the F key. The camera button, this is going to get you back into your sticky camera. If you were to fire a sticky camera on a wall, leave the sticky camera, you can then push, in my case, the C key to return to the camera. If you are someone who uses C to crouch, you could say put this as like the X key, something like that. Speed mode you shouldn't really worry about, because what I would recommend instead of having a speed mode key is enable the mouse wheel to speed mode. By default, it is set to gadget selection, so usually you would scroll the mouse wheel to select the gadget, which is very inefficient, and you should be using the numeral keys for that. You want to switch this option to speed mode, which makes it so that you can go more quickly or more slowly by scrolling the mouse wheel as the spy. It's much, much more control that way, so I highly recommend using that option. As the mercenary, I have the change rate of fire as the G key. You're probably not going to use that a whole ton. It just sets your AR into a burst fire mode versus fully automatic. I hardly ever use that. And then the reload is just R, pretty standard stuff. The rest of the stuff on here is just sort of HUD stuff, so there's like viewing default controls, viewing the HUD. I did rebind the map key to M, just that makes a little bit more sense to me. And I like having the status as F1, and then the connected players, which is the scoreboard, as F2. One last thing that's really important, the quit game button, I believe, is typically defaulted to F7, which is right next to the team chat key. Disable that. Basically, rebind this to something far out of the way. I put it as the end key, so it's very far out of the way, so you're not going to accidentally quit the game. One other thing to touch on is that you can set up 2 different key bindings, so you can have key 1 and key 2. This does allow you to have 2 completely different key bindings, so if you really wanted to have one for the spy and one for the merc, you could do that, but you would need to manually shift from key 1 to key 2 in between rounds. So it's not the best way to do it. I would recommend just having a universal control scheme, but if you really want to circumvent that, you can create 2 different key bindings and switch between them. Once you've completed your key bindings, you can go into Tutorials section and go to Visit a Map. This will allow you to go into any map. You can switch over to either the spy or the merc. I would recommend probably as the Spy, just to kind of get used to the controls, pop into a map, and just kind of get comfortable with the controls. Just start running around, climbing things, exploring some of these maps. There are some little built-in map tutorials that you can follow set paths. It'll kind of tell you a little bit about each map, or you can head over to my Map Tours playlist and get really in-depth with learning some of these maps. Once you're ready to start playing, you can head over to Play Multiplayer, and you can either click on Find a Session to look for existing lobbies. There is a built-in network on this game, so there's no third-party software required or anything like that. You just look for a lobby and see who's online. Or you can go ahead and create a session, which is basically hosting a lobby. You can then pick out which map that you'd like to play on. You can choose the game mode. Story is the default objective-based mode. There's also Disc Hunt and Deathmatch, which are just kind of some side modes. They're not really played a whole lot, but they are available to you. You can even go into alternate mode and set custom rules. Once you've selected the map that you're looking to play on and the mode, you are able to set some other additional options here. The one thing that I would change if you're hosting a lobby is to enable Revenge mode. What that means is it will automatically switch from the Spy to the Merc in between rounds. So you'll play one round as the Spy and one round as the Merc, which is pretty much the intended way to play the game. Once you've hosted a game, you will see UPnP has successfully port forwarded these ports if you have UPnP. So that is required to host a lobby. Otherwise, you will have to manually port forward these ports, and you'll pretty much have to look up how to do that on your own. I'm not super familiar, but typically UPnP is going to be what does it automatically for you. As of patch 3.5, they added a new submenu that you can access by hitting the F12 key. When you pull up this menu, you'll get access to a few additional options, such as sensitivities for mouse, sticky cam, the menu, and the sniper scope. You can also toggle between the legacy sniper mode and the more modern sniper mode. The legacy is kind of like what the vanilla game has, or you can go with the more modern sniping, so you can keep that unchecked if you want the more modern. You can also adjust the frame rate for the Spy and the Mercenary separately. I kind of recommend keeping those at 60 frames per second, but you can adjust those accordingly. You can also go into some of these additional graphics settings here. They do have dynamic shadow quality, texture filtering quality, as well as the Mercenary FOV cap. Down here there's a couple additional options that you can use, such as using higher quality player models at a distance, maintaining widescreen aspect ratio, and then a cool little feature that they added here at the end is you can show the location on your HUD of where you are, so you can get a little bit better at doing callouts. Let's talk about the basic premise of the game. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory is an asymmetrical multiplayer mode in a 2 versus 2 format, where 2 spies in the third-person view try to complete objectives, and 2 mercenaries in the first-person view try to defend them. There's a timer on the map, typically of about 10 minutes, and each side can use an array of gadgets to help them complete their objectives. Teamwork is essential to success in this mode. Let's talk about the different types of objectives in the game. This is a computer terminal objective. To take the objective, walk up to it and push the Use key to start hacking the computer. You'll see a timer appear and start ticking down. Once the timer hits 0, you will have completed the objective. At any time, you can break away from the computer, and the total progress of the hack will be retained. In this case, I've hacked 58% of the computer terminal. I can then go back to the terminal, and the countdown is already at 4 seconds remaining, so it only takes a few more seconds to complete the objective. In the top right, you'll see the number 3 turn to a number 2, indicating the remaining objectives. This is a disk objective. Walk up to the hard drive and push the Use key to take the disk. You will now have to return it to one of the predetermined drop points. On this map, there are 2 different drop points to choose from. You can drop it at either one to complete the objective. Approach the drop point with the disc, push the use key, and this will complete the objective. When the spy is carrying the disc, they'll show up on the radar as an orange dot. The only way to prevent being detected on the radar is to use the slow crouch walk, which will negate you from being on the radar. This is a bomb plant objective. Walk up to one of the predetermined bomb plant sites and push the use key. This will place a bomb and start a timer going down. For the bomb to go off, the timer has to reach 0. At any point, the mercenaries are able to disable the bomb. To disable the bomb that a spy has planted, either walk up to the bomb and push remove, or you can also use your weapon to shoot it out. This will also disable it. You can even fire a frag grenade. Each player will have a set amount of lives. Spies start with 4 lives by default, and mercenaries start with 3 lives by default. If you lose all of your lives, you will be out of the game. If both players on a team lose all of their lives, that team will lose the round. If the mercenaries are able to prevent the spies from completing all of the objectives within the time limit, then they win the round. If the spies complete the required amount of objectives within the time limit, then they win the round. Generally, you play 1 round as spy and 1 round as mercenary. Let's talk about playing as the mercenary. The mercenary plays similar to other first-person shooter games, so if you have played those before, it'll be easier to learn. To move your mercenary, use the movement keys. You can look around using the mouse. You can jump using the jump key. Crouch using the crouch key. While you are crouching and moving, you will be silent to the spies. To use a ladder, simply approach the ladder and push forward to start climbing. To descend a ladder, just approach the ladder and continue to push forward to start going down. You can also hold down the use key to slide down a ladder quickly. To initiate a charge attack as the Merc, walk forward towards the spy and hit the use key. This will knock the spy on the ground unconscious, and they will remain here unless picked up by their fellow spy, or after a period of time they'll get up on their own. Once you knock a spy on the ground, you can then perform a finishing move by standing over the spy and hitting the use key again to initiate a choke. You can either let the action play out, or you can push the use key again to finish the spy off, which takes one of their lives. In order to counteract a spy jump attack, if you hold still and push the use key, you'll perform a berserk move, which will counter the jump attack. This will knock the spy down, and then you can finish them off. You can also use the berserk to counter a grab attack if you suspect it from behind. For instance, if you see a ping on your noise reticle behind you, you can do the 360 berserk and it will knock that spy down. The mercenary has 2 special vision modes, the first of which is motion vision. To activate motion vision, push the Special Vision 1 button. In this mode, you will sense anything that is moving above a certain speed. So if I fire this frag grenade, you can see how it tracks the movement by highlighting the box around it. Note that any spy that is moving slowly, doing the slow crawl, will not be detected, or as of patch 3.5, any spy that is using the optical camo suit will also not be detected by motion vision. The second special vision mode that the mercenary has is the EMF vision. You can enable this by pushing the Special Vision 2 button. With this vision, you'll be able to see anything that is electronic, including spies using their gadgets or night vision goggles, for instance. You can even detect spies through a ceiling tile using EMF. Use the Action 2 key to turn on your flashlight and illuminate dark areas. Be aware that with your flashlight turned on, the spies will also see you coming more easily. To activate the Merc laser, push the Action 1 button. This will turn it on, which will allow you to highlight objects in the background. If you highlight it over a spy, it will highlight them with a box around as well as put their name. It also adds them to your radar, so you can now track their movement for the next 90 seconds. If you get a spy on radar, they'll show up as an orange dot on the top right of your screen. They will be a circle if they're on the same level as you, or if they change levels, they'll turn into an arrow pointing in the direction of the level that they're on. So if they're above you, the arrow will point up. If the spy is below you on the radar, the triangle will point down to show that they're below you. The mercenary has a noise reticle, which is a very important tool for the mercenary. It will add little wavy lines if there's noise in a direction. As you can see right here, the spy's running around in front of me, so the little lines are on the top of the reticle. If the spy was to move to my side, over here, the reticle will indicate that they are now to my left. Same thing for if they're behind me, it'll go to the bottom of the reticle, and obviously if they're to the right of me, it'll be on the right of the reticle. The other thing that's important to note is if they are above you, the reticle will not only indicate that they're in front of you by having the wavy lines on top of the reticle, but there's now also an arrow which shows that they're above. The same thing would happen if I move up these stairs and the spy is on the bottom of the level. The arrow will now show that there's sound in front of me, but also below me. Let's talk about the mercenary primary weapons, the first of which is the assault rifle. The assault rifle has a 25 round magazine, can fire in fully automatic mode or a burst fire mode, and it also has a sniper mode. If you hit the primary fire key, you'll fire your weapon, which by default is in the auto mode. You can push the change rate of fire button to switch to a burst fire, or you can use the scope key to zoom in. While you're zoomed in, you can change the magnification even further by scrolling the mouse wheel up and down. While you're scoped in, you can even use the gadget key to hold your breath to steady your shot. You'll see your breath going down on the left-hand side, and if it reaches the bottom, your scope will start shaking up and down. To leave the scope, you simply push the scope button again. Scoped in shots are going to be much more accurate and deadly. To reload your weapon, push the reload key. The next weapon that you can select is the SMG. This has a 60 round magazine, so it is able to have more of a continuous fire. It's more of a medium range weapon. You can fire it in fully automatic, or you can also switch it over to the burst fire with the rate of fire key. The third weapon is the shotgun, which has a 6 round magazine and is very effective at close ranges. The drawback to the shotgun is obviously that it will not be very good in long-range engagements. The first gadget that the mercenary can select is the frag grenade. You spawn in with 4 grenades, which is the maximum that you can carry. To fire a frag grenade, simply push the gadget key to fire at full velocity. You can also hold down the gadget key while firing so that you can adjust the velocity. Release at the desired velocity. This way you can make shorter shots with the grenades. The next gadget that can be fired from the mercenary's launching system is a flare. You spawn with 10 flares. To fire a flare, you simply push the gadget key, just like a frag grenade, to fire it at full velocity. It will illuminate the area for a period of time before it burns out. This can help you detect spies and take away their ability to hide in the shadows. Another staple gadget of the mercenaries is the mines. To use your mines, select the mine gadget and then approach an area that you want to place the mine and push the gadget key. By default, this will put down a proximity mine. You can also approach your mines and push the use key to remove them and put them back into your inventory so you can move them to another location. If you want to put down another type of mine, hold down the gadget key and you can select either a laser or a poison mine. After you place down a proximity mine, it will trigger if a spy is moving too quickly near it. As you can see in this example, the spy is moving very slowly, so he's not triggering the proximity mine. If he was to move at a regular speed, even normal crouching speed, it'll set off the mine and most likely take out the spy. If you place down a laser mine, it'll extend a laser, which you can usually see in the EMF vision, across from one wall to the other. You can kind of see it here in my example. These are silent, but if the spy trips through that laser, it'll set off the mine. If you put down a poison mine, it'll also extend a laser from one wall to the other, and if the spy breaks through that laser, they will become poisoned. It takes approximately 15 seconds from full health to get them all the way down to 0, where they will lose a life. Another passive gadget that the mercenaries can place down is the spy tracker. If you place down a spy trap, it'll also extend a laser from one wall to the other, similar to a laser mine or a poison mine. And when the spy breaks through this laser, it'll put them on radar for about 90 seconds, which is the same as if you shine the laser on them for a few seconds. And it'll also put them on EMF vision, even if they're not using gadgets or their goggles. It makes them much more easy to trace. The secondary function of the spy tracker is the presence detector. When you place one of these down on an area, it'll have about a 5 meter radius where it will detect any sort of presence of the spy. When the spy comes through and it is within that area, it'll send a basic intruder detected alert to the HUD of the mercenaries so they can tell that they have been in that location. Also, the spy is not able to shoot out or disable the presence detector once they've tripped it. They would have to wait for the alarm to go away and then come back and disable it later. Mercenaries also have the option of bringing a taser. To use the taser, simply equip the gadget, walk up to a spy, and hit the gadget button. This will shock the spy for a few seconds, and then render them unconscious. It also does about 50% of their health bar. While they're on the ground, you can also start doing the finishing choke attack. Another interesting choice of gadget for the mercenary is the camera network. To use the cam net, equip the gadget and then push the gadget button to enter into the camera system. From here, you can move the camera around to get some recon. You can use things like your flashlight, your EMF vision, or the motion tracking vision. You can even use the laser to highlight the spy and put them on radar if you're able to highlight over them for a few seconds, just like the regular laser. You can then switch your camera by pushing the next camera function, so you can switch between your different cameras throughout the level. This is a great way to cover vast swaths of the map while only being in one position. You can then use the gadget button to get back into your regular mode. A crucial gadget that every mercenary should always take is the gas mask. To use the gas mask, equip it and then also push the gadget button to start breathing through the mask. While you're breathing through the mask, you are not going to fall unconscious to smoke attacks, so you'll be immune to being knocked out from either smoke bombs or cams. You do have a finite amount of oxygen to breathe through the mask. Once your mask is depleted, you will be unable to breathe through the mask, and you will hear a beeping sound, which we'll hear in a second. This means you're out of the gas mask, and you are now susceptible to smoke attacks. You can toggle the gas mask on or off, so make sure you're being conservative with the gas mask so you don't go through the entire oxygen tank and leave yourself vulnerable. The mercenaries can also choose to bring along a backpack. In order to use the backpack, equip the backpack first, and then you will see on the left side of the screen there are two inventories. There's one for you and one for your teammate. You can only access the inventory that is under the U category. So in this example, I have 2 spare frags, 2 spare mines, and 6 spare flares. If you push the gadget button, this will take from your inventory and refill your actual inventory. If your teammate comes up to you and pushes on the refill button, they will take the inventory that is your teammate's. If your merc partner has been hit by a spy bullet, you can go up to them and hit the unspy option by hitting the use key to remove them from the spy radar. You can also choose to give your merc partner additional gadgets. Just select the gadget that you want to give them, walk up and hit the give interaction button. To heal your merc partner who has taken damage, walk up to them and push the use key to heal them fully. If your merc partner falls unconscious, you can also walk up to them and push the use key to pick them up off of the ground. Let's move on to talking about playing as the spy. The spy has a higher difficulty curve, so it is a little bit harder to learn. It is a bit more complex, but because of that, it can also be a lot more fun. Use the movement keys to move your spy around. You will run by default. If you use the speed toggle, you can slow down to a walking speed. Whether you are walking or running, you will make sound to the merc. Push the crouch button to crouch. While you're in the crouch stance, you are totally silent to a merc. If you slow down your speed even further with the speed select, you can go down to a slow crawl. Using this can be useful for things like carrying the disc to not be on radar or moving past proximity mines without tripping them. While you are crouching and moving forward, you can hit the Action 1 key to perform a forward roll. If you are standing and moving forward, you can use the Action 1 key to perform a dive roll. You can chain dive rolls together with crouches to move across the map quickly and silently. Perform a dive roll followed by a crouch, and then quickly stand up and perform a dive roll, and then crouch again. This action is silent if you chain it together correctly. If you approach a wall and push the back to wall key, you'll push up against the wall. You can then peek around corners without exposing yourself too much. You can perform a jump with the jump key. This will allow you to reach higher areas. If you land normally, this will cause sound for the mercs to detect. If you jump and then push the crouch button in midair, it will suppress the sound of your fall and be silent to the mercs. You can jump onto things like these railings to get up and over obstacles. You can also shimmy back and forth on a rail. While hanging from a railing, you can push the forward key to go up and over the railing. While hanging from a rail, you can also push the jump key to get on top of the rail. Make sure to suppress the sound of your climbing by pushing the crouch button while climbing over a railing. The Spy can perform a wall run to reach heights that are normally inaccessible with a regular jump. To perform a wall run, run towards the wall, hold down the Action 1 key, and then jump when you hit the wall. You can then pull yourself up to the next level. You can perform a wall flip by performing the same controls as a wall run against a tall enough wall. You can use this flip to evade a mercenary or even attempt to land on their heads to knock them out. You can use a wall flip to flip into the ceiling. To climb a ladder as the Spy, simply approach the ladder and continue pushing forward to ascend. To go down a ladder, just approach the ladder from the top and continue pushing forward to start descending. To go down a ladder more quickly, hold down the Use key to slide down the ladder. To climb a pole, approach the pole and push forward. You'll begin climbing. If the pole changes angle and you continue pushing forward, you'll move to the next section of the pole. You can then move hand over hand. You can also pull your legs up with the jump key. From the hanging position on a pole, you can pull out your shocker gun and aim while inverted. To come down from the pipe at any time, push the crouch key. Make sure to push crouch again to suppress the sound of your fall. To use a zip line, jump up and grab onto it. While on the zip line, you can push backwards to slow yourself down, neutral to go normal, or forward to go quickly. In certain maps, there are areas where you can perform a split jump. When the walls are about this far apart from each other, stand perpendicular to the wall, push the jump key, and then push the jump key again in midair to perform a split jump. From this position, you can even take out your shocker gun or use gadgets. If you grab a mercenary from behind and then push the Use key one more time, it'll perform a neck break. This will consume one of the mercenary's lives. If you grab the mercenary from behind and do a non-lethal attack by performing the fire key, this will render them unconscious. It will also take 50% of their health bar. If the mercenary is at or below 50% health, performing a grab attack and then doing the neck break or the non-lethal knockout will perform a choke. If you have a mercenary in your grasp, you can actually drag them around the map. This can be helpful to pull them out of view. If you hold on to them for too long, eventually the mercenary will start choking to death and their life will be consumed. If you try to perform a grab attack against a mercenary who's standing on the stairs, you're only going to be able to elbow attack them. You cannot perform a grab. To perform an elbow attack, push the Use key on a mercenary from the front. This will stun them for just a couple seconds. It's really good to chain an elbow attack with a shocker gun to render the mercenary stunned for a few seconds after that as well, allowing you time to escape. Against a crouching merc, you can perform the elbow attack, and this will actually knock them unconscious. You can also approach a crouching merc from behind, and as long as you're more towards their left shoulder, you will still perform a grab attack. To perform a jump attack, simply land on a mercenary's head while jumping down. This will knock them unconscious and take 50% of their health bar. In order to perform a rail grab attack, push the use key when you're hanging from a ledge below a mercenary. As long as you're close enough, it'll initiate the grab attack. If the mercenary falls from a great enough height, it will take one of their lives. The Spy has two different vision modes. The first is the night vision mode, which can be activated by pushing on the Special Vision 1 key. This allows you to see in the dark. The second vision mode that Spies have is Thermal Vision, which will allow you to see anything that generates heat. Use this by activating the Special Vision 2 key. The Spy has a taser gun that they can use to temporarily stun the mercenaries, as well as take out passive security. To take out your taser gun, push the Action 2 key. If you tap on it, it'll take out the taser with your laser enabled, which does make sound to the mercenaries to pick up on. To silently pull out your taser gun without the laser, hold down the Action 2 key. You will not have the laser, but this is silent and cannot be detected by the mercs. If you flip on your laser with the laser activation key, this will still make a sound ping that the mercenaries can pick up on. To fire the taser, just push the primary fire key. As you can see, as you fire taser shots, it does consume energy, which is appearing on the right-hand side of the screen with the blue bar. It does recharge over time, but if you fully deplete the energy bar, you will not be able to shoot your taser until it recharges to a sufficient level. When a spy tases a merc, they will be shocked for a few seconds, and then they will be on a cooldown for about another 10 seconds or so, where they can't be shocked again. You have to wait for the cooldown to expire before you can shock them. When you pull out your shocker gun, you will enter into basically a minesweeper mode, where you are unable to trip any proximity mines. So right here we have a proximity mine on the wall. You can walk right up to it, you can move around even standing up, and you're not going to set it off. You can also walk up and hit the remove key while your gun is out to disable the mine and remove it. In front of me, I have a laser mine. If I walk through the laser, I'll still set it off. But if I move over to the side, I can remove it safely. Same thing with a poison mine. If you're exiting an event and suspect that there could be a mine at the bottom of the opening, take out your gun, move into the slowest crouch possible, and barely edge your way over the ledge. Let go of any movement keys while you're falling, and you will not trigger the mine, and you can then safely remove it. Spies have access to a variety of grenades that they can choose from for gadgets. The first of which is the smoke grenade. When you spawn into the map, you start with 5 smoke grenades. To use a smoke grenade, equip it first by selecting it with the corresponding gadget button, pull out your taser gun, and then use the gadget key to launch the smoke grenade. After a couple of seconds, it will explode, leaving behind a cloud of smoke that obscures vision and can choke out the merc. If the merc stays in the cloud long enough, they will eventually pass out if they don't use their gas mask. You can also adjust the velocity of the launch by holding down the gadget button and releasing it at the time you would like. If you take a smoke bomb from a spy, your mercenary will start to choke on the smoke. The only way to counteract this is with a gas mask. If you don't have a gas mask on, you'll begin to pass out. And from the time that you lose consciousness, going through the sleeping period, to regaining consciousness is a total of approximately 14 seconds to regain control of your mercenary. The next grenade type is the chaff grenade. You start with 5 of these when you spawn, just like any other grenade, and the chaff grenade can knock out anything electronic. Here we have some laser defenses. You can use the chaff grenade to throw it at your feet to disable the defenses. If you are hit by a chaff grenade as the mercenary, it is going to disable many features that the mercenary can usually use, such as trying to reload their gun. It is disabled right here. You also can no longer switch to your vision modes, like EMF or motion, and you can also no longer scope in with the AR rifle. All of that is disabled. The third type of grenade that spies can select is a flashbang grenade. Just like the other grenade types, you start with 5 of them per life, and you launch them the same way, pulling out your taser gun and pushing the gadget key. This will blind a merc for about 10 seconds. If you take a flashbang from a spy, you'll be blinded for a few seconds. You are able to sort of counteract this to a degree by using the motion vision. Here I've enabled motion so I can still see the spy's general movements, as well as any gadgets that they throw at me. Spies also have access to alarm snares. To use an alarm snare, equip your taser gun and then fire the alarm snare with the gadget key. This will stick to a surface. The alarm snare will make the sound of spy footsteps that the mercenaries could interpret as a player. The other thing is that they will set off the mercenary sound detection reticle, so this can be a pretty good distraction in that regard. You can also fire an alarm snare at existing passive security, and it will trip off the security to potentially distract the mercenaries in that way and cause them to investigate an area that you are no longer in. As you can see, you can cause a lot of confusion and chaos by throwing a lot of snares around a room, rendering the noise reticle practically useless. Another useful gadget that spies can select is the spy bullet. The spy bullet is one of the spy's most powerful reconnaissance tools. To use a spy bullet, simply equip your taser and then push the gadget key to fire the spy bullet. If you hit a surface, it'll create a radius of detection to see mercs incoming. You can also fire it directly at a mercenary to tag them and put them on the radar for about 90 seconds. The other intel gadget that spies can select is the heartbeat sensor. To use the heartbeat sensor, equip it by selecting the corresponding gadget button, and then pull out your taser gun to start sweeping. You can imagine sort of a frontal cone sweeping in front of you. You can even see it depicted on the radar in the top left corner. The orange dot indicates the heartbeat of the mercenary. If you want to enhance your stealth gameplay, the spy can select the optical camo suit. Select the gadget and then hold down the gadget key to start cloaking. While you are cloaking, you will see that your energy bar will start depleting. If the energy bar reaches 0, you will uncloak. In order to cloak again, you will have to wait for the energy bar to fill all the way. If I try to cloak right now, it will not allow it until the bar is full. Now that the bar is full, I can cloak again. You can also end the cloak early by holding down the gadget key again. Note that the energy bar that the camo suit uses is the same one that the taser uses. So firing your taser can prevent you from cloaking. As of patch 3.5, the camo suit will not be detected by mercenary motion vision, and it will also be immune to security cameras. If a spy enables their camo, they can be pretty hard to detect with the naked eye. But if you flip on your EMF vision, they light up completely. One of the most powerful gadgets that a spy can select is the sticky camera. When you spawn, you have 5 sticky cameras. A sticky camera can be used by equipping the sticky camera, pulling out your taser, aiming where you want the sticky camera to go, and then pushing the gadget key to fire it. This will immediately put you into the sticky cam's vision. You can then look around using the sticky cam. You can even change vision modes, so you can switch into your NVGs or your thermal optics. And then if you would like to try to release some gas to knock out mercenary, you push the use key. You get 1 charge of gas per camera. To exit the camera, push the gadget key again. You can also set up waiting cameras with the sticky camera. To do this, aim where you want the sticky camera to go, fire the sticky camera. You can then leave the sticky camera by pushing the gadget again. You can move to another location, and then push the return to camera key to go back into your last sticky camera. You can switch back and forth indefinitely. Using this tactic will allow you to keep tabs on a room that you're not in, or even set up waiting ambushes. If you get hit by a sticky cam from an opponent spy, it will render you unconscious much more quickly than the smoke. The overall knockout time is approximately the same as from a smoke, but losing consciousness much more quickly is much more advantageous to the spy. When you are selecting your gadgets as the spy, you will notice that you will have 2 of the slots labeled as Quick Use 1 and Quick Use 2. These are the slots in your inventory that you can quickly use by throwing the grenades at your feet. Items that can be quick used are the smoke grenades, chaff grenades, flashbang grenades, and the optical camo suit. To use your quick slots, equip gadgets in slots 1 and 2 that can be used as a quick slot gadget. In this case, I have gadget 1 as flashbang and gadget 2 as chaff grenade. If I hit the primary fire button, it will use gadget 1 instantly at my feet. And then I can also push the gadget key to use gadget 2 at my feet. This is a great way to quickly use gadgets and escape a mercenary in high pressure situations. To initiate a co-op move, go to a co-op spot, which is indicated by the icon in the lower left part of the HUD. Push the co-op button to initiate the co-op move. This will put you in a stance that invites your partner to come get boosted up. They can then push the co-op button to get launched up. If they push the co-op button, it'll lift up their legs, and as you can see, the co-op icon at the bottom left has changed to show a human ladder. I can now push the co-op button one more time to complete the human ladder maneuver. This way, you can get both spies to a higher area together. If you take damage, you can have your spy partner come up and heal you by just walking up to you and pushing the action button. This will restore all of your health. This can also remove poison from the spy, so it's a really good way to avoid being killed by a poison mine. If your spy partner has been put onto radar, either by a spy trap or the Merc laser, you can go up to your partner and then a prompt for unspy mate will pop up. You push on that, and that will remove them from the Merc's radar, and they'll no longer be tracked. If your spy partner runs out of a certain gadget, you can give them some of your own. In this scenario, my partner needs an extra sticky cam, so I select my sticky cam gadget, walk up to them, and hit the use button to give them a sticky cam. If your spy partner gets knocked down by a Merc charge, you can go up to them, push the use key, and this will pick them up early, so they don't have to stay down for the full amount of time. If your spy partner gets knocked down and is being choked out by the Merc, you can actually save them by approaching the Merc and grabbing them from behind. Most maps include at least one medical kit that you can use to heal your spy or your mercenary. Simply approach the med kit and then hit the interact button to heal. This also cures poison. If a mercenary is starting to run low on ammunition, you can approach one of the ammo boxes found on the map. Approach the ammo box and then use the use key to pick up ammo, which will fully restore your ammunition. To use an elevator, walk up to the elevator panel and use the interact button to call the lift. You can then get inside the elevator and then use the panel inside. Sometimes you'll have multiple levels to choose from, but you just select the one you want to go to, and that's it. While elevators are always accessible for mercenaries, depending on the map, spies may not be able to use the elevators themselves. You can shoot out windows so that you can traverse through them with your shocker gun. Some maps will have light sources that you can shoot out to create darkness. You can use parts of the environment on certain maps to try to attack the Mercs. For instance, on Steel Squat, there are these exploding tanks, which if you shoot, can take out a Merc and take out one of their lives. Some maps will have additional objects that you can shoot to create hazards. Some levels will have fire extinguishers throughout the map. You can shoot them to create a cloud which can blind mercenaries. To avoid being blinded by a fire extinguisher as a mercenary, equip your gas mask, walk through the smoke, and then take off your gas mask. This will immediately clear the smoke from your face. If a spy is moving too quickly in the ceiling of certain maps, you can actually see their footprints leaving dust behind, so you can track their movements. If the spy uses any of their vision modes, you can use EMF to see them through the ceiling tile. This also applies if they pull out their shocker gun or attempt to use any of their gadgets. All of that will be tracked on EMF vision. If the spy is moving very slowly, they will not show up through the ceiling, so they will not leave footprints behind. And if they disable all of their goggles and gadgets, you cannot detect them on EMF, so they will be invisible. Some maps, such as Missile Strike, have spotlights that you can use. Simply approach the spotlight and push the use key. Then you can aim it around with your mouse. Push the use key again to exit the spotlight. Some maps have hacking panels that you can hack into to unlock other paths that you could not normally take. In this case, I'm going to open this window by hacking into the panel. While making the hack, the Mercs are alerted with a text prompt at the top of their screen, so be careful that it will give away your position to a degree. Sometimes a side panel hack can open an entire new area of the map. If a spy starts to hack a side hack, you'll see a HUD prompt at the top of the screen on the Merc that says hacking in progress. It usually won't tell you exactly which side hack that the spy is going for, but they are hacking something in the map. Let's talk a little bit about passive security. Many maps will have passive security measures to prevent the spies from getting to the objectives, and you will either have to bypass or disable the security to take the objective. In this case, the terminal is protected by a couple of lasers, which you can use your thermal to detect. If I try to take the objective right now without disabling the security, it will trip the lasers and the alarm will be sounded. This also locks out the objectives on the map, so I'm not able to take the other terminals, including this one. This can be map dependent, how the lockouts work. Here are some more laser security. You can just shoot them out, or you can use your dive roll to bypass them. Some maps have passive security in the form of motion sensors. If you get too close to the motion sensor while moving, it will alert the mercenaries to your presence. This is a passive security camera. If I get spotted by the camera, it will alert the mercenaries to my presence. In this case, I am getting my position given away, but it is not locking out any of the other objectives. Similar to a laser, you can also shoot out a security camera, which will disable it temporarily. Eventually, the security camera will come back online, so it's not gone for good. If you receive a headshot from a spy's shocker gun, it'll completely disable your head for a few seconds. While the spy is performing the wall flip animation, they do get some iframes during the backflip. Right there, they were untouched. Iframes also apply when a spy is hanging from a ledge. They cannot be hurt with a charge attack. Typically, if you fall from a great height, you will have a stagger animation when you hit the ground. You can negate the stagger animation by flipping your NVGs on right as you hit the ground. To negate the stagger animation as the mercenary, push on the crouch key as you hit the ground. The game will remember what stance that you are in. So if you approach a terminal while crouching, initiate the hack, hit the crouch key again to stand up, and then break away from the terminal, you will be in the standing stance. to make a quick getaway more easily available. If you made it to the end of this guide, congratulations, you are now armed with the knowledge to start playing the game and be successful while doing it. Share this video with a friend and get them interested in playing the game with you as well. This game is really fun to play with friends, so gather up a little crew, start playing games. If you're looking for somewhere to go from here for additional knowledge, you can hit up my map tours playlist and start getting into some of the map knowledge. Map knowledge is very important in this game, so the more you know about the maps, the better. But until the next video, I will see you all next time.